is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 309. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him E. Sitting here on a Wednesday, beautiful Austin, Texas, about 48 hours removed from the big news of the week. How you feeling, my friend?
Demoralized still, I think. Kind of just downtrodden with how poor the team's been, all the news coming through, none of it being, well, I guess not. I shouldn't say none of it being good because I was on with the coach getting out of there, but definitely didn't see the old double firing coming. And, we got this last game versus St. Louis in St. Louis, a game that I thought was winnable 2 weeks ago, I think, a week ago even. And now I'm looking at it like, shit, you could end up in last place. And I definitely don't want that heading into the World Cup break. So demoralized is the overarching theme here.
And I'm somewhere around there. Maybe we'll figure it out, get some more clarity in that respect as we go through today's show. Packed one for everybody. Want to wrap up, right? If you didn't catch the live stream from Monday, we went live about an hour and a half after the news dropped, talked for about an hour with a lot of the sickos who were joining us live there. So you can catch the replay of that, right? It's in the audio podcast feed. You can also, of course, find that in the live tab of our YouTube channel. If you want a full hour on just instant reactions from both Coach Estevez and Rodolfo Borrell being let go on Monday, we'll wrap some of that stuff up, a couple of our thoughts that have been gathered together here over the last 2 days before we preview that St. Louis match that will take us into the World Cup break. We've got a game recap and a game preview for the second team here, and of course, some nonsense to close things out at the end of the episode. Before we cover all of that, just want to remind you all, as we always do, you can support the show financially for free just by downloading the audio versions of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts. You can toggle on auto downloads. That'll support us in that fashion going forward, and you won't have to think about it again. Go the extra mile, rate and review the show wherever you get your pods. And if you are watching on the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. It does help us grow the show. Shout out to all the new subs from Monday's live stream. You can also hit the notification bell to know when a live stream like Monday's pops up or a new episode goes live. Of course, here on episode 309, hit the thumbs up, like the video. Help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords. Atone for your sins. Wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. And as we discussed, right, on the live stream, the secondary transfer window doesn't open for MLS teams until July, but in the North End, it's always open. And it's our friend Sarah joining the roster here in our Patreon, our newest DP member here in the North End. I know we saw Sarah after a match a few weeks back, so always good to catch up with Sarah. And now jumping into that Discord, I saw her mixing things up in there already. Welcome, Sarah.
Welcome, Sarah. Thank you. Happy to have you.
Wanted to, of course, highlight once again, as we did on Sunday's episode, that there is a Los Verdes watch party for this Saturday, the last one before the World Cup break. So, of course, there's going to be some chances to hang out with your Verde brethren over the World Cup break, right? Whether it's at some sort of third-party gathering or those daily watch parties that the team is putting on around town. But for the St. Louis City match this Saturday, of course, that is a 1:45 Central kickoff. The party at Austin Beer Works, it's the Sprinkle Valley location, just to be clear. That's 10300 Springdale Road here in Austin. Party getting started at 12:30, kickoff at 1:45 at that Sprinkle Valley location for Austin Beer Works. Of course, it's family friendly. They've got the playground out there for the kids, and you can park on site. They're going to have a big outdoor screen, some picnic benches out there to sit and enjoy the match. Or if you watch indoor, they've got TVs with tables and chairs. Food trucks available out there at the Sprinkle Valley location include La Taquicardia, Rockies, and Parish Barbecue. So again, that's getting started at 12:30 this Saturday. with kickoff at 1:45. So unfortunately, I won't be able to make this one. I will be in Pittsburgh tending to some family stuff here this weekend. But going to be a great time. So we, of course, encourage everybody to go out there and support the team along with your fellow sickos.
Yeah, we'll be there in spirit,
Yeah, absolutely. So well, I think let's before we jump into the match preview, let's do a little bit of wrap up on the Nico and Rodo firings. And I think, to be honest, man, I think literally everybody who's like talking or giving their opinion about this needs this right about now.
Rumors, whispers, made up trades, consequences we never weighed. Logic's thin, the mic is hot. Let's pretend this means a lot. Taking shots from way downtown, hoping no one writes it down. Hot takes flying without hesitation. It's time for some reckless speculation.
That includes myself here, or I should say ourselves here, because I think like getting into this discussion that we wanted to have really together, but also just for everybody else to hopefully give us some feedback on, like, I personally feel like I have seen and heard a lot of Rodo revisionism, as I'm calling it here, in the last 48 hours. Like a lot of conjecture, a lot of taking what I perceive to be as certain folks' speculation as gospel and just like running with that. And I'll say, man, for me, it started with the Soccer-Wise live reaction, which I think was the only live reaction out there before ours was, because that news broke while they were doing their normal Monday pod. And like, I guess I want to start with Tommy Scoops, right? Because he immediately seemed to have some stories that he, anecdotes, I guess we should say, because there's no like serious report here yet.
Yeah.
If we're going to get one from Tom, right. I definitely believe that Tom has some stories from like agents who felt spurned by Rodo or didn't appreciate his communication style or anything like that. I'm sure that happened. And he also mentioned, right, I think, quote, how many people left the club, right? Insinuating that like when Rodo got here and then the early parts of his tenure, like that there was some mass exodus. And again, I don't doubt that Rodolfo Borrell rubbed some people the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably pretty certain, given the rhetoric around the firing, that like it was more people than we ever thought.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So like, I'm not saying that this stuff didn't happen, but like, I also am just, I guess, urging our devoted listeners and the Austin FC sickos to consider where these things are coming from on the other side of this, right? Like, if an agent is upset at Rodo, he's going to go whine to a source about that or something of that nature. If a Tom Bogert or a Matt Doyle or another MLS writer on the national level ever reached out trying to interview Rodo, you ever see a Rodo interview out there?
Nope.
So like, just think about the motivations of where you hear some of these things. And I'm really not pointing at Tom Bogert here, but wanted to start with who I think is the most credible when you're talking about this stuff of the trio on that panel on Soccer-Wise that day. So like, I think for both of us, the question is like, who left the club based on, and so like the first name that came to my mind was Dave Tenney, right? Our former high performance director who, even before Austin FC, right? Like elite resume and clearly did great work here in Austin. We know Satoshi Ida. Again, I think it's the second time I've said his name. Not totally certain I got the last name right there, but one of our top, if not the lead of the athletic trainers there on game day, now with Orlando. So again, like we know people have left, and like, yes, when a new sporting director comes into a club or a GM in any of the professional sports, people leave because that guy or that man or woman brings in their own people.
Yeah.
For most roles. And it's not always everybody's out, but like, yes, I assume some people left. So like, I think I just personally, from the Bogert perspective of that conversation, I would love some more reporting on like where, like, was there a serious thing, or are you just like sprinkling in a couple of these people that, because again, I had no idea about that. And I'm sure some people who are more plugged in do, but that was clearly not the consensus among Austin fans.
I was literally floored by the soccer wise stuff. Like,
yeah,
like jaw like on my desk, just like, what? And I did not expect this response or reaction at all with the Rodo stuff. And you know,
there's one guy on that panel. I'm sorry to interrupt. Matt Doyle, you expected out of.
For sure. I'm saying more of an overarching bleeding into the Austin FC fans as well. And I was going to say particularly with Bogert. And when Bogert said he was the worst CSO in the league, I would say
Doyle said he was. Bogert said one of the worst. He did not. He said one of. Because I'm coming correct here.
Yeah, for sure. And like when he said that, I was just like, holy shit. And then the story about like getting coffee with some agent and that doesn't happen or whatever. And like, then I was just like, man, like these dudes have been like dying to get this shit out. You know what I mean? Just like sitting on it. And with Doyle and everything, like I can't take your Austin FC, commentary that serious when you said that Bradley Scott Stuver is falling off.
Yeah.
Bad goal.
And that's just one thing we've been harping on.
And like that
is like,
clearly
he's just not plugged in.
No, exactly. And it's like, I'm not saying that I know more than him about the game of soccer to have more connections or anything like that. But I watch every Austin FC game twice.
Yeah.
I watch every game 2 times. Okay.
Yeah.
So like, I think that I would be privy to like Stuver falling off a cliff if that's what he was suggesting. But I was seriously just like flabbergasted by this response. And like for Rodo to get that treatment after, because it wasn't like they were just like shitting on him and like insulting like his the work he did. They were like actively mocking him, like being like, oh, I don't have any game, and like making a joke about it in light of it. And it's just like our first sporting director got a more ceremonious exit with some of these like people who are talking about it. And his departure was way worse. We were in a worse spot financially, roster wise, and credibility wise with the dude who was trying to blackmail a U.S. men's national team coach. So I was seriously floored by the response that Rodo received, and like I made my stance clear right before it happened. You know what I mean? And like I think probably some people will look at what I said right before the firing, the 16 hours before on the episode, where I was just like, I just don't think you want what's best for the team if you're willing to like get rid of Rodo here. And then like immediately he gets let go. So, egg on my face, but I still stand on that. I really do. Yeah. And like, there's plenty to critique about what Rodo has done or what he has not done here, what he has not been able to accomplish in the time that he had with this club. But I maintain that I think it's fucking insane that Rodolfo Borrell only got one head coach that he hired to try to, make this thing work. And I'm super upset with the results of the team, super upset with where we sit at right now. And all that to say is I was honestly floored by the response that some people had to this, mainly the Soccer-Wise crew and like Doyle and everything. And like saying he's the worst in the league is preposterous. We've never won a wooden spoon. We don't have the worst damn cap situation in the league.
Yeah,
and
not
like,
even close.
Teams like Montreal exist. Teams like Sporting Kansas City, you only have 16 players exist. Did they just beat us? Yes, but still that doesn't take away from the fact that they haven't filled out their senior fucking roster yet.
Yeah. Well, and I would also say like that's kind of, I'm glad you pointed that out, because the Matt Doyle saying that Rodolfo Borrell was the worst CSO in the league is like not just silly, it's just provably false immediately. Like you said, he's not even the worst CSO in our team's history. So what the fuck and like, again, this is what I'm saying. Think about where these guys are coming from, how they see these things on the other side, why they might feel that way. And again, I'm basically focusing in on Matt Doyle because I see people in different chats, whether it's our Discord, other group chats, LV Slack, where people are just running with this stuff that this guy says. And it's so fucking provably false. DC, dude, their new sporting director lives across the country and has more LinkedIn posts than signings, and they're rebuilding.
Yeah.
So just please, Austin, North End listeners, just consider these things when you hear guys who clearly have an agenda
personal
talk about this. Because another great point that you made there, E, is there is plenty to criticize without making shit up.
Yeah.
And speaking in hyperbole.
For sure. I mean, with Doyle, it has just seemed personal for a long time. And I don't get it. And like maybe, he, like you said, reached out to Rodo. You want to have him on the pod or something like that. Obviously, that type of name coming from where he had just come from. And maybe Rodo spurns you. Again, reckless speculation for sure. But like when your response, it's like a hit dog hollering, man. Like your response is this. It just seems so personal that something went wrong with like y'all's two relationship. And I don't, maybe if you're Rodo, you got to play the game a little better. But I think the dude would understand that coming from the markets that he's been in, which are 100 times more critical of front office, hirings, coaching hirings, like the status of the team and everything from Barcelona to Man City, like in those environments. So like maybe he needed to play the game a little better and rub people, a better way. And again, ultimately, those things can be hidden and not taken too seriously when you're winning. But when you're losing, everyone's got something to say about it. So I still am floored by what the response was to Rodo's tenure here.
I mean, I think that's another great point, man. Because like Rodo, from everything we know, right, the frontward facing stuff, especially the press conferences, since he got here, is that confidence. And when you're not winning, it's arrogance. And when you're losing, then it becomes a problem. So I think you're probably onto something there. And it's not like that's rocket science, but again, I don't think either of us are trying to say that like there was not problems. Clearly there was. And I think with the firing, either it was completely terrible behind the scenes or something happened that made the switch flip for ownership. And I personally, for my reckless speculation, is that is more likely than Rodo was this monster that nobody could work for, right? Yeah. And I think you also have to apply that to the players. Like if he's rubbing some people the wrong way in terms of like his interpersonal skills in the front office, you think that's also not coming off on some of the players? For sure. I bet I could totally see that. But again, like let's deal within the bounds of reality and what we know. And until some of you guys actually report that shit officially, give us some details, then I'm going to deal with the reality that I can see and not what I perceive as your axe to grind. Dude, Matthew Doyle, San Jose forgot to pick up Christian Espinosa's option this year and in turn created a super team in the other conference. The fuck are you talking about?
Crazy,
and like,
man.
Again, MLS fans, you guys are smart. You guys can figure this. Pick up on this. Yeah. Because I'm at like, oh my God, dude. And why I'm partially why I'm so emphatic about this is not just, hey, don't talk about my guys like that. But it's like, I want to listen to you guys talk about the rest of the league and trust that you know what you're talking about. And this kind of stuff, it's so easy for you to lose that trust, man. You got to come correct with this stuff.
I mean, the other thing was like the way that it was framed when Bogert said like, people don't want to work for him and like how many people have left. Yeah. How many, like Tom, how many was it? Because I am not privy to some sort of mass exodus with front office people when it came to Rodolfo Borrell. And from the response from all kinds of places, I do think that maybe this dude was not the best at interpersonal working relationships.
Yeah. Maybe I think that's clear that he wasn't the best.
Yeah.
If you were, you'd be there still probably.
Yeah. Not good at it. Something of a downfall there. And again, when you're not winning and you're losing, that stuff becomes issues that people can point to and be like, you lose your job because of this. And I also think that maybe some of the new investors played a part here. You get that money infusion. you get a seat at the table when you're swinging dick like that. Like you get to sit down at the table. So like maybe that took place as well. Again, at some point here, I'll be able to remove my demoralization and my emotions from this and be excited about moving on with this team and hopefully hitting on these next 2 hires, which is going to be really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and don't think we're letting Total Soccer Show off the hook here, because you've got Joe Lowry still sitting there. His takeaway is that Facu Torres is not a DP level player. Still, that's the same shit he was saying in the preseason. Like, certainly nothing has been put out there by like Facu's counting stats are not blowing you away. Some of that, as we know, is because of the shorthanded nature of Austin FC in the early parts of the season. And I'm not saying Facu was the best signing ever, but like, I don't know, man, like maybe we can have a little bit more depth to our analysis. And like Jeff Reuter's on there talking about the Fagundes trade was bad. The hell are you talking? And like, and some of these guys suggest, I think it was like, maybe it was Doyle too, but like there's been suggestions that like Rodo didn't understand roster rules or what have you. And like, we know he admitted that getting the roster to a place he wanted it to be took longer than he expected when he came in, which is kind of self-admission on some of that overconfidence and that arrogance, right? But to suggest that this man didn't know, like, again, you're not paying attention. And hardly anybody in the world is paying more attention to Rodolfo Borrell's moves than we are from a cap perspective. And like the Fagundes trade was only because he understood the rules. And that was the first fucking move this guy made. And we're not going to go back through the last 3 fucking years of moves that were clearly made with like it. The only reason some of these moves were made were because of the place our cap was in. And if we really, I was telling Peach the other day, like, we really need to go back and have a 20-minute segment on how bad, dude, we were over the cap when he got here with no GAM.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're not
like,
Miami.
again, to generate, like, I forget who it was in the live stream. One of the listeners brought up, like Rodo's the reason we don't have GAM. That's not true, dude. It's not true. To generate more GAM than the annual allocation, you have to sell players. To sell a player, you have to have a buyer.
Yeah.
The team sucked when he got here.
Yeah.
From a cap perspective, you have to have a buyer for the contract that the players are on. And to get that Fagundes contract off, we said at the time, was crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So again, and credit to Jeff Reuter, because I saw some Austin fans going to correct him on that, being like, no, this was very clearly why this move was made. And credit to Jeff, he did something that I'm not sure I've ever seen one of the national media around MLS do to somebody who's rightfully correcting them and not telling them you're stupid or anything like that. But hey, man, you're wrong. And he said, I appreciate the pushback. And like, again, some of these guys could benefit from that. Again, because like if you're trying to generate your fucking your subscriptions, your viewership, like again, sometimes you have to take some feedback from people who know better. And like again, a lot of fans in this league who are deep in it, man, know better about their team than you do. That's just how it goes. That's every sport. It's not special here.
Nope.
So again, like clearly the guy, Rodo, made some mistakes behind the scenes. He wouldn't be gone if he didn't.
I agree.
And I'm very interested to see if a story ever comes out about like the one mistake that he made, if that was the case.
Yeah. And I mean, if Bogert dropped something like that and like was talking about like these XY people from his source, I would eat that up and then I would change my opinion on it, because feedback from somebody who knows more about this shit than I do, because I know Tommy Scoops is sitting on way more information than I could ever have.
Of course.
And I'll be like, yeah, man. So like, yeah, it did not go the way that we anticipated or expected. That's for sure. I thought this dude was going to be around for a long, long time. And I thought we were going to be rolling, and it hasn't played out that way. And again, like we said with Nico, that this is the territory. Lose your job.
It's also beneficial in some circumstances or some situations here. It could be beneficial to the club for everybody to start hating on Rodo immediately. Again, not suggesting he's clearly not perfect, and there were more reasons than we know for why he was let go. But again, just like to see some fans being like, oh, he was terrible at his job and didn't care, this and that. This man cried when he signed Brandon Vasquez.
Yeah.
Like I said on Monday's stream, dude, I have zero doubt in my mind that both Nico and Rodo spent every day employed here doing their best, how they thought was best to improve this team. That doesn't mean that what they thought was right, but I don't doubt their intentions for a moment. And to that point, dude, like I have not seen a single negative thing about Nico, which I would be surprised if I did, but just like confirmation, I think in the aftermath of this that like, yeah, he's the good guy that he was presented to be from how he went about his business every day. And
nothing
I think
negative about who he was as a person or like
correct.
Negative stuff about his coaching style and lack thereof, stuff. I get,
Good clarification there. So Ian, unless you have anything else to add on that, we do have a listener question, somewhat related here. So anything else for you on our Rodo revisionism?
No, I'm good.
Yeah. So TexRex was asking us, who are some of the top names you would be thrilled to hear associated with the sporting director and the coaching search? I will say off the top, and I imagine you'll agree with me, that we're like not the people to ask this question. Yeah. Because our depth of knowledge on like certainly global like coaching prospects who are available right now, certainly on the sporting director side or CSO, right? We just don't have that depth of knowledge. If you're asking me who to hire for your NBA team, I could go all the way down. I could build you a whole coaching staff in the front office, right? But like, if we're thinking just about guys in the MLS pool, and from our live polls on the live stream, right, the North End listeners preferred the sporting director to have MLS experience, or that was more important to our listener base than the coach having MLS experience. And I think I get that, right, understanding the unique roster rules and salary cap structure of the league. And as a coach, like there's differences. The travel, of course, is one that everybody talks about, the physicality of the league. But at the end of the day, soccer is soccer. And like the rules on how you can build the team are very different. So I really don't like, I know that, and like, again, like listening to Soccer Wise, like I want to hear who they have to, like, who are their guys off the top of their head. Yep. Garth Lagerwey was one that they mentioned, right? A lot of success in this league, most recently being involved, I think, and not even at the sporting director level, but maybe like team president or something like that with Atlanta. So he wasn't just directly the GM like he was in his two previous stops, but like also was dealing with cancer, now cancer free. So maybe that's somebody you're reaching out to. And I think given his full resume, I would be pretty excited about that because this is clearly a guy who understands the league. I do look at that Atlanta team over the last 5 years since we've been in the league and like, what have y'all done for them lately? Yeah. But like on the sporting director side, I think I have a much like, it's not a good depth chart with the coaching hires either, but I really don't have too many ideas on the sporting director side.
No, I honestly don't as well. And I was listening to Soccer Wise, and I like the suggestions that Tommy Scoops had about going to some teams that you respect and what they do, and talking to some of their second in charge, second in command, and going from there and seeing what it looks like for sure. So, my coaching list is short enough already. Like you said, my sporting director list is almost non-existent. Yeah, Coach Cal for sporting director.
Yeah, shit. Hey, I'll make Adrian sporting director and Coach Cal the head coach. So, I mean, I think, like, jokes aside, Wilfred Nancy is the name right now, right? Because he was the best coach in the league for a while, left. Now he's without a job. Yeah. I think it's an uphill battle to get him to come coach this team. By all accounts, like, Jim Curtin would be a 1B for me. By all accounts, he's not leaving the East Coast, at least this year, I think for family reasons. My vibes pick is Vanni Sartini, for sure.
Yeah.
But like, and I was checking, like, I think our buddy Mike Quignola is probably the preeminent Vanni Sartini fan in the Austin fan base. And like, I asked him yesterday, I was like, he wouldn't come here, would he? And he was like, no, I don't think he would. He's not coming to Texas. He's not playing or he's not coaching for Austin. But man, I would love a coach who, like, big win, you rip your shirt off on the sideline.
That would be good for the vibes for sure.
I do think, like, Gio Savarese is another name, right? He's been with Apple the last year and change, but like, we've been fans of this league long enough now to remember the success he did. I think he went to 2 MLS Cups with the Timbers. So again, like, it's a limited pool. And like, I think to me, it's very clear that Nancy is in his own tier. And if we get him, like, no pants party, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be monumental to snag him. Yeah, I don't know if you're able to grab someone from across the pond or down south or something like that you could bring in here. Obviously, you see a lot of retread with some of these options here from guys who were in MLS, lost their job, waiting for jobs now, and we had that experience here with Nico and everything like that. So I'm gonna have to get more stable with where I'm at. I just want to fucking get 3 points versus St. Louis here.
Yeah,
because obviously Davey's coaching it, so this can be something that I look a little bit more in depth to in the World Cup break window and everything like that. Because I'm not really entirely sure when this decision is going to be made, and also the order of operations. I think you want to get your SD in place first before you go ahead and get your coach, because you want that to be aligned. So. We'll see, man. Obviously, if it was, Wilfred, I'd be, absolutely.
We don't have questions about that.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and I also think before we move into the preview, the timing is a question. I've seen some folks suggest that this could drag on, even potentially the head coach hire into the restart after the World Cup break. I personally would be surprised by that.
That would be,
I don't think it's impossible. Not by any, I don't think that's a long shot, but I know I want these guys to hire somebody July 1. I want us to be ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And is that too quick? It's 6 weeks, maybe. I think you have 7.5 weeks from today until that secondary transfer window opens. And the fact that the club put in that press release on Monday, this is we are utilizing the break to hit this reset button. So I expect them to utilize the break to hit the reset button and be ready to go when the guys start practicing again. I assume in July, maybe they're back late June. I think I heard that there's actually in the rule book, it says you have to have 3 weeks, no contact here, I think, with the guys once the break begins. So obviously we'll have our eyes on when practice starts back up and all of that. But I would be surprised if they don't have a sporting director and a coach by the time we kick off on July 23rd at home against the Sounders. And fuck, man, new coach, welcome to Austin.
Yep.
You know, with the Sounders.
Yeah.
Anything else for you on this, E?
Nah.
All right, well, let's talk St. Louis here, E. And of course, this is a team that we just saw 3 weeks ago at the Q, and it turned out pretty well. I'm on the written preview on the site here this weekend, E. And all time now with the win at home 3 weeks ago, 2 wins, 1 draw, 4 losses all time against St. Louis. And of course, just 1 win in 3 tries at Energizer Park. That was last season. Early in the year, it was Mirtu's first Austin FC goal that gave us that 1-0 victory. So since we last saw this team at Q2 on May 3rd, again, a 2-0 win for Austin, another Mirtu goal against this St. Louis side. St. Louis has been on a little bit of a hot streak there, if you could call it that, E. After our game, as we pull up the roster profile here again, just to remind everybody, a 3-3 build. Roman Berkey, Sergio Cordova here on loan till the summer, and Marcel Hartel are their 3 DPs. Edward Leuven, for my money, the most important TAM player, maybe the most important player overall for this team. Tomas Ostrak, Cedric Teuchert, and Conrad Vollum are their 4 TAM players. They beat Colorado 1-0 in Colorado after our match. Then they went home, beat LAFC 2-1. And that was not, I want to say both Sun and Buanga were in for that. Maybe one of them rested. Either way, I don't care. That's a good win.
Yep.
Drew DC United 1-1 on the road. DC is better than we gave them credit for earlier in the year. I think that's pretty clear, at least through this first 15 games of the season, 14, 15 games. And then last night in the Open Cup, E defeated Houston. So congrats, St. Louis. We love to see that. We can pull up that result. It was a 2-2 final, so they go to pens there. And I thought, E, as this game ended last night, perfect result for Austin FC because St. Louis plays 2 hours. The only way to me this could have been better is if they were playing tonight on Wednesday and they had a day less to recover.
Yep.
But to send a lot of these guys out there for 120 minutes last night and they eliminate Houston, I love to see it.
Yeah, this is absolutely fantastic. And as you mentioned, they're having to run these guys. Hartel got 120 there as well. You've got Leuven in for 57 minutes. He's still getting back up to full strength, full conditioning level. So, yeah, they had to play a lot of guys and then getting that result for Houston. Absolutely love to see it. I don't think it's a coincidence that you've seen an uptick in the results for St. Louis City with the return of Edward Leuven to the lineup and him getting his conditioning up. And those are some solid wins. In Colorado, elevation, I don't care what that Colorado team looks like. It's tough to win there. So able to do that. And then obviously beating LAFC, high quality win there, advancing in the Open Cup. This is definitely a team with an upward trajectory right now. And they still have some very talented players on this roster. So I'm just not surprised with the return of Leuven that they've looked much better.
A couple other takeaways from watching that match last night. And I should say I watched the extra time much more closely than the first 90 because, NBA playoffs, like even when it's not the Spurs, I'm prioritizing there. I did see Roman Berkey's mistake that led to Houston's, I believe, their second goal, just like kind of slipped down. And then he was subbed out shortly after that due to injury. It did not look like it was too bad, but like I didn't know how much of that was like bruised ego, but like potential for Berkey to sit here. And like, I don't think Ben Lunt is like a slouch. He was in net for them actually the last time we played them at their place last season because Berkey was coming off an injury. But I'd still we just watched Berkey in person. Almost keep us off the board 3 weeks ago. So like I would definitely welcome Lunt in net instead of their DP goalkeeper there. Dude, in that extra time, that Dante Polvara kid saved the game. Houston gets out on a break. Dude, is Guilherme with nobody in front of him. Evil Guilherme. And gets around Lunt, wide open net. Polvara comes from behind, just slides where the shot is going to be, and he shoots it right into the kid's leg.
Damn.
And it was extra time, too. Yeah, dude, it was crazy.
Suck it, Orange team.
Yes. and St. Louis, I thought, also got a little bit lucky, that red card to Lawrence Anali for his second yellow. It was a really soft call, dude. But again, we'll take it.
Hey, man. Look, it happens to the best of us there.
So,
I'm going back to the first matchup between these two teams, right? A game that you and I are very much in lockstep where both teams we think should have scored some more goals that game. And that applies to St. Louis. They had some real chances. Obviously, the Betcher open net, a gift from the soccer gods that doesn't go in. The Leuven strike from inside the PK box there, that goes in more often than not, in my opinion. Couple chances from Hartel. They generated some good-looking stuff, and obviously Leuven was not fully ramped up at that time, but still you got some good high-quality minutes out of him. So this is a team I think that's, really cooking right now, and I don't know. I forgot this game was at 1:45.
Yeah. Yep. Another afternoon kickoff here for Austin in the first part of the season. Updating some of those stats for St. Louis. They're sitting 13th now in the league in average possession per game. It's 49.6%. They're still 29th in goals per game in the league, man. This is still not a team that is scoring at a high rate. They are 10th in goals allowed, so sitting right on the fringe of the top third of the league in terms of that defense. But they've only kept one clean sheet so far this season. They're 20th in XG, so underperforming that XG for sure, and 8th in expected goals against, which is right about on target with their actual numbers. Just 22nd in big chances created, and I think you can look at them being second to last, or third to last rather, 28th in accurate long balls per match, which to me signals they're really trying to build up through that midfield, and not because we know about the profile of this team, right, in terms of the player personnel.
Yeah, not a lot.
Don't have a ton of burners up there, so they're really trying to break you down a little bit more meticulously than some of the other opponents we see here.
Yeah, I was just looking at the stats from the last game as well. You brought up the big chances. We allowed 6 big chances to them in that matchup, 6 missed for St. Louis. So that's definitely something that we were seeing even with some positive results, obviously, versus St. Louis and Houston as well. But the big chances for the other teams, they were popping up, and St. Louis had plenty of them in that matchup. And I think if you give this team 6 big chances at home, you're going to be in, with St. Louis at home, you're going to be in trouble here. Another difficult place to play. A difficult place to play. The fans are really great there in St. Louis. They're passionate about this team. It's a hard place to play.
Yeah, unless you have anything else to add on the St. Louis side, I'm ready to talk about us.
Woo.
And, of course, Davey Arnaud, part 2.
Yep.
Here as the interim coach. And, right, he did win that one match. I do just want to highlight, it did take 2 stoppage time goals, if I recall correctly. Basically a miracle to pull out a win in that match against Colorado, Decision Day 2024. But 1-0, right? 3 points, and we certainly want him to continue that unblemished streak here this Saturday. I believe we will hear from Coach Arnaud tomorrow at the Performance Center for media availability. So certainly interested to hear what he's got to say heading into, again, what I think is definitely going to be a 1-game stint here. I've seen some folks speculating, could he be the guy? For me, nah.
Yeah.
I like I said, was it Sunday? Was it Thursday? You were talking about keeping Nico Bosch, and to be clear, if Nico Bosch stays, I'm fine with that. But I just think the aesthetics of it is everybody out once we hit the summer. But definitely for Davey, man, for me, it's just you've been here from the start. This is Austin FC 3.0 we're moving into, or 4. What are we at this point, right? I think most of the remnants of 1.0 outside of Stuver Gallagher, Owen Wolf, those guys need to be gone.
Yeah, I feel you. I think the result he got versus Colorado was awesome. I think that was great for him. I'm happy that he has another opportunity here, and I hope that this adds to his resume moving forward somewhere else. Because I'm with you there. I think you come in and you push everybody out. Mass exodus. Here it comes with the new coach. But man, I am watching intently to see how these players respond in this game. Yeah. I want to see what faces look like. I want to see what body language looks like. I want to see what communication looks like. I want to see how these dudes respond to what just took place. And as I said before, on the live stream, there's some players in the locker room who are happy about both of the decisions that were made. Mm-hmm. There's some players who are not happy about both, one or the other. I don't know if there's anybody who was still on board with the Nico experiment. I would have had to have heard it come out of the locker room. Obviously, we got some quotes from Danny that we saw from We Are Austin TV that were very much throwing Nico under the bus.
Yeah. And although could he also be throwing Rodo under the bus with that in terms of how, again, we don't know how involved Rodo was with that type of stuff, the player personnel, game day, what have you. But It could also be about that.
For sure. It could be. And that points to some of the guys being happy about both of those decisions being made. But I'm very much looking to the pride of this club being under a microscope here in this matchup. And I think that's ultimately the thing that's going to decide this game here. Because if you come out and you're flat and you have some division amongst the dudes, and now is the time for the players to rally together around one another as players for this team and be we're going to put something better out there for the fans and the organization and stuff like that. And I think I have more confidence than I do doubt that those guys are going to do that, because I believe in a lot of these guys, a lot of these players. And from what I've seen over the years with plenty of them, I think there's a lot of guys with a lot of heart and pride who play for this team. So that's what I'm going to be watching very, very closely.
Well, we know Brendan Heinzike is out through the break, and I don't see why Robert Taylor would suit up for this game. So I'm assuming he's going to miss as well. But look, man, we have to get a result for the vibes, and not just the vibes for Sunday's episode, the vibes for the break.
Yeah.
Because like I mentioned, I think on Sunday, maybe Monday's live stream, a loss to St. Louis City and a Sporting Kansas City win in their house over New York Red Bulls would leave Austin FC in last place in the Western Conference headed into the break. And I do not want to stare at that shit for 2 months.
Nope.
So please, even a fucking draw keeps you out of the basement for 2 months. And a win, if the results from 10 to 12 go your way, you could be tied for 10th.
Yep.
And a 3 points here would be huge,
Massive
in terms of your playoff chase that does continue.
It does.
This, and I don't personally think that this is a team that is rebuilding during this break or in the winter window or over the next year. I think a lot of these guys are very good MLS players, certainly above replacement level. And I think there's a decent enough spine here where 3 to 5 moves could vault you closer to that 5 than the fucking 13 there, in terms of like on paper, right? You still got to go out and do it. But I mean, I had this cooked up in terms of like maybe kind of bridging like Rodo leaving with where we're at here, headed into the break. Like, I know this is not what we've been running, right? We've been doing that 4-4-2 with Mirtu under Ramirez, but like assuming health, right? And I believe all of these guys, absent Ilie, are signed through net, like guaranteed for the sprint season.
Yep.
So like in this 4-2-3-1 alignment, Stuver in net, Rosales at left back, Dessler at right back, double pivot, Danny Ilie. I know Ilie is not long for the club, right? At least in a player role. Like, shit, man, you fucking is the search committee just talking to Ilie as well for the coach position. But like having Danny there, just signed a new deal. Jaden Nelson on the left, assuming he's healthy, coming out of the World Cup. Facu Torres on the right, and only on the right. Like, right, like when you get healthy, you can play him in his natural position. I just slotted Owen Wolf there in the middle of the park with Brandon Vasquez up top. And I think center backs, BHI is up at the end of this year, right? But regardless of his contract status next year or any of the other 3 center backs that we have, I think we need an upgraded center back. I would love to use some TAM, whoever the new sporting director is, to go out and get like a new quote unquote number 1 guy.
Yep. Get your Ruben Gabrielson.
Yeah. And again, I know that's way easier said than done, but like all of these guys but Ilie are here next year. And there's more guys behind them that I'm also fine with. It's not a ton, right? But like there's no Biru on here. So like you can sell him and probably pull in some GAM. Mirtu Izuni is not on this graphic. So that's a DP slot that you have to play around with, assuming you can move him out. So again, I don't see this roster going forward as something that is in dire straits. I don't.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. And with this configuration, man, you have, like you said, plenty of not just talented players, but like young, talented players, guys who are either in their prime right now or about to enter their prime. Obviously, Ilie not in that tax bracket there. Sure. But the Mirtu thing, right? I think my the old gauge there, the old meter has definitely come back down to you're getting him out of here at this point in time.
Cruising. Yeah.
So like I think obviously playing him a ton this game might not make a ton of sense if you're trying to move him in a window, potentially picking up a knock or what have you. I don't hate that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like I think he's probably on the way up. And to your point there, having a DP spot to potentially work with, where you can get someone in here that you really think elevates the floor of this team. But yeah, that core there is totally fine. Like that is a totally fine core for MLS. You got to make some upgrades, add an important position in the DP, and then around the fringes as well if you come in here. But it's not like you're walking into an absolute disaster situation where like you got to tear everything down. And I was concerned about a potential rebuild and everything, like having to go through that. But after, calming down a little bit, letting the emotions not dictate how I was feeling about this, you do have your core of guys here. Obviously, you could be moving Owen, selling Owen, whatever that is, but that will upgrade your ability to go out and acquire other players as well. So for the starting lineup for this game, I have been on the Biru at the left back, keeping Joe in the midfield. But I think the Rosales at left back, his most natural position, although I think he excels in plenty of places, does make a lot of sense. And then you have maneuverability and flexibility to make a change if you do bring Biru in at left back, shifting Joe to the midfield, keeping him in the game as long as possible. Jaden Start, I it's hard to read that situation right now. Obviously him coming off the bench. I don't think he starts. So. Yeah, I'm there as well. Coming off the bench in the last matchup didn't look great for him, but him not getting the start was a bit more telling. And then the questions around Danny. Why didn't he start? What's going on with that situation? And even though I did say I don't expect a ton of minutes out of Mirtu here, I do think he starts this game. I will be interested to see what formation Davey's going to go with. You think it's going to be the 4-4-2? You think it's going to be what we've been most comfortable in thus far this season? I'm not entirely sure what he's going to pull out of his bag. I'm going to see if I can pull up that. I don't even know how much you could read into that. Obviously, with the difference in roster when he had
player
the
personnel
game,
is so different.
Who he had available and like whatnot.
Well, and like my if I was going to predict a lineup here, I would. To have a lot of confidence in it, I would need to know, where did Brandon's minutes limit get raised to this week? Like, again, I don't think it's to a starting level. I think it would be silly to start him in this game, considering the progression of minutes that we've seen from him so far. But, like, I think my biggest question is, can Danny start? Because if he can, he needs to. Yeah,
I'm there. And I think he has to be able to, right? Mm-hmm. I'm assuming. For what it's worth, Fatmoth has had us in a 4-2-3-1 in that game.
There you go. Well, let's go ahead.
I think Danny's got to be ready. I also think he's like biting at the bit to get in there. I really do think like he wants to fucking go out there and play.
Yeah. We do have a listener question before we get to score predictions. He is from our buddy Aries, who says, so now that the deed is done, do you adjust your expectations for this season? Do you think this change actually propels us to the playoffs, or will the fallout from this and the new regime taking over and our players having to adjust keep us in the bottom of the table and miss the playoffs this season? What's your gut feeling on that?
I don't think it changes much. You're not capable of winning an MLS Cup. You're not capable of winning a Leagues Cup. I do think this team at the spine and the core that we just went through is capable of making the playoffs. And then I don't think you're going to have a shot versus one of the upper echelon teams. I don't forecast this team moving into a situation where you're playing the first round with the majority games in your house, which means you're playing, one of the Whitecaps, San Jose, Seattle, RSL. Yeah. LAFC has dropped to 7th now with 3 consecutive losses. They'll be fine. But again, I don't expect you to be hosting more games than not in the playoffs here. And I'd be thrilled, fucking thrilled to go to one home playoff game this season. I would be so excited about it. It'd be great for me and my fanhood and everything, but no, you're not winning a cup. You're probably not winning a first-round series. Yeah, I do think you can make the playoffs. The Galaxy are in the playoffs right now, and they suck.
Yeah, I expect this team to make the playoffs with the changes that they made. It makes me, again, I think we said it the other day that we still expected the team, even if they didn't fire Nico, to fucking make the playoffs, at least be in the top 9.
Yeah.
I don't personally consider the wild card to be the playoffs. It's the postseason. Mm-hmm. But again, top 9 is non-negotiable. Can't do it.
Non-negotiable.
All right, man. Unless you got anything else to add, how much is Austin FC winning by on Saturday, taking us into the World Cup break?
Man, you go first.
All right. I got a 1-1 draw, unfortunately, just because no Heinzike. Defense has not been good.
True.
And it wasn't good before that. It's been worse. And their defense has been solid, right? Yeah. Top 10 in the league in terms of goals allowed, and their expected goals conceded lines up with that. So it's a 1-1 for me. But again, I expect to see a group of players that are a little bit at least reinvigorated here by the change. The fucking new coach bounce is not a guarantee. But it does frequently happen. Again, I think it lasts about 1 game, maybe 2.
Yeah.
But fuck, man, we would take it here. And a 1-1 again keeps us out of 15th, so I would take that.
Okay. I'm going to lean into the players really rallying around this, and I'm going to lean into the guys being like, hey, we're better than what we were putting out there, and it was because we were being held back by X and potentially Y. And both of those things are now gone. So I'm going to lean into a 2-1. Stuver Masterclass, save us the game.
Is it a masterclass if he gives up a goal?
Yeah, with that defense, like we talked about, John Bell, the center back, how many times has this been, what I mean? He's had master classes where he's been scored on 5 times.
Yeah. All right. Well, a 1-1 draw for me, and we like E's prediction better. 2-1 win for him. Don't care how you get it done, boys. Bring us home 3 points.
Come on down to Farmer Field where the champions play. Get ready for the game. It's last business day.
Last business day here on episode 309 of the North End Podcast. E talking about this matchup for the second team against St. Louis City 2. That was, of course, on Sunday night out there at Palmer Field. And in terms of the lineup, we saw that come out. We read it out on Sunday's episode. Love to see Irvin Torres, Micah Burton, Jorge Alistue in this lineup. Eric Feliciano getting another start. Patrick Kaeli back in there. No Riley Thomas on that roster. But outside of that, man, it was kind of full steam ahead with this team taking on second place St. Louis. And it did not take long for things to start going our way. It was the 5th minute, just after that first whistle. Austin takes advantage of a St. Louis turnover near midfield, and it is Feliciano chesting it down to himself. And he just takes off, man. It's a 3-on-3 break, but there's a 4th defender right on Eric's hip in that left channel. And a 5th defender trailing Vlad in the middle with Micah Burton sprinting wide right. And Feliciano just takes this himself from midfield right to the top of the box and rips a shot that bounces once, scoots past the keeper for the opening goal, and this fucking kid continues to produce, man. Another Feliciano goal.
If you're the new sporting director, you better keep this kid around. I don't give a shit. You better find a fucking way to make sure that he is with this club. What a stud, man. He has been absolutely incredible, and he's obviously picking up a ton of steam with the Austin FC2 fans and people who are in touch with what's going on with this club. He's a baller, man, and like this lineup, this team we're on fire right now. As our Austin FC2 correspondent, one of the guys who's got the eyes on it all the time, Ari's has been saying, like, this is a team that's like looks like it's going to be able to compete for a championship going, in this season. Long way to go, but this is the second place team, belt to ass.
Yeah, what? It's got 2023 vibes right now around FCito.
But like, this is a younger team. You know what I mean? That original FCito team was like, we had guys like, Captain Joe?
Joe Hafferty.
Joe Hafferty, that's right. Older guys that were clearly there to help us win, be successful that season. Not so much as the development, but like this team is young and exciting right now.
Yeah, it was like a lot of USL level guys on that roster. And the best keeper in USL the next 2 years. So it's the 19th minute, and FCito gets a free kick just above that top left corner of the St. Louis penalty area. It's Jorge and Irvin lining up over that one. And it's Alistue who takes it with his left, squeezes it around the wall and just inside the near post to double the lead. And man, this first 20 minutes, what a start.
Absolutely fantastic start, man. Way to set the tone in this big matchup between these second and third place teams at the time, and you're just rolling right now.
35th minute, yellow card to Wagner, pulling down Feliciano on a potential counter. Eric was just giving these guys fits in the first half. 5 minutes later, another yellow card, this time to Marion. High challenge on Irvin, dude. It looked like to me he caught his leg with the studs, but just a yellow and then a stern talking to, at least on the broadcast there. And a minute later, Feliciano picks one up himself, going through the back of a St. Louis player after a turnover. St. Louis did make 2 changes at the half, and then in the 51st minute, the visitors come quickly down the right flank, have a 2-on-1 on that side of the box, and it's Ota getting some space to bend a left-footed shot. That one bounces just kind of like Feliciano's did and gets past Lauta, so the visitors pull one back, and that ends a scoreless streak for Austin FC2 that was north of 300 minutes, E. So again, highlighting as you did how hot this team has been really on both sides of the ball right now. 58th minute, shortly after that goal, it was a triple sub for Austin. Dobrahevich, Hot, and Saul come in for Feliciano, Alistue, and Denchutu. Yellow cards to St. Louis in the 63rd and 69th minute. On that second one, they also made another change. And in the 72nd minute, it's Austin keeping the pressure on St. Louis for a sustained period here. And just in an instant, after about 90 seconds of that, Irvin Torres receives the ball at the top left of the 18. It sure looks like he megs this first defender, dude, and then streaks past a second along the top of the box to unleash a shot that keeper saves for St. Louis, but the rebound just goes right into the path of Kenny Hott, who was crashing the box, and he's all alone, taps it into the net, restores the 2-goal advantage. Right after that, final St. Louis change, and then 2 minutes later, 79th, the visitors loose with the juice at the back man. Dobrahevich runs right onto a loose ball, charges towards goal, easily puts it around the keeper to seal the deal. 4-1. You do get Abarca in for Micah in the 81st, and 3 minutes later, Marcel Ruzel in for Irvin Torres. It was an injury sub, but looked like it was for sure just cramps there for Irvin. So he comes off in the 84th, and you take the 4-1 win at home over that second-place team, man. You check out the stats, like Austin didn't have to do much after they got that lead. 6 of their 9 nice shots were on target. But you see 16-9 shots for St. Louis, 29 touches in the Austin penalty area to just 12 for the home team. They created 2 big chances, missed both of those. So it was not a flawless performance by FCito, but the early goals set them up to be successful here on the night, and you love to see that. So it was a big win, and you turn right around here. On Friday, you're on the road taking on Sporting 2.
Avenge us, children.
Yeah, the all-time head-to-head here, against Sporting KC2. 4 wins, 4 draws, and 1 loss for FCito. It was Sporting 2's only win in this head-to-head series. Came in August 2023. It's kind of wild that their 1 win was against the title team.
Yeah, that is pretty weird.
So far this season, Sporting 2 wins, 3 draws, 8 losses so far in the season. They also have more games played than anybody else in the West, as you can see here on the screen for the YouTube viewers. 15 goals, 34 conceded. That negative 19 goal differential is the worst in the league, both Western and Eastern conferences included. They have a trio of players who have 3 goals apiece. Number 77, midfielder Kashan Hines. That's a 17-year-old there for Sporting 2. He's got 3 goals. Number 88, Shane Donovan, 18-year-old midfielder. So some of the youth prospects there for Sporting 2. Number 96, Misael Rodriguez. He's 23 years old, forward, former Chicago Fire homegrown. He also has an assist on the season. First-team homegrown goalkeeper, Jack Courtcamp, has taken over of late. I'm not sure if he was injured or what, but right, he's behind both Stefan Cleveland and John Polskamp. I find it interesting that they have a Polskamp and a Courtcamp on their first-team roster, and they're both goalkeepers. Also need to watch out probably for number 37 forward Tega Ikoba, former Timbers homegrown. He's got 1 goal in his 500 minutes. And talking about us, man, like, give me more Feliciano. Please,
yeah, please.
Give this kid minutes at this level. I'm sure he's right. Probably 2-3 years away from potentially being ready to get a supplemental deal with the first team. But let's expedite that. It is clear this kid has got it, man.
Yep,
he's at least relative to what we're used to seeing.
Yeah, for sure. This has been an ascension, with him, that has not been anything that we've seen here at this level thus far. Obviously the hype with Micah, and I think that's deserved, and with Irvin as well, it's just felt a little different with this Feliciano kid. I mean, MLS Next Pro Team of the Match, right, or Team of the Week or whatever, because of his performance last week or in this matchup versus the St. Louis there. So, kid's a baller, man. I'm excited about him. Rising star of the match week.
Yeah, congrats to Eric, the rising star of the match week in MLS Next Pro. Austin FC 2, also the team of the match week, extending that unbeaten streak to 9 games. You hope to see Riley Go ahead.
Just get us the jerseys, man. Come on.
I know. They're great, right?
Just come on. We need something here. Throw us a bone.
Yep. Also, I just saw a Bogert repost. We saw this news earlier today, and totally off topic here, but fucking Casemiro to Miami. Are you kidding me?
Laws do not exist. They do.
Also, you guys suck, man. You
fuck
need more help to win this league.
Yeah.
You guys suck, dude.
Yeah,
They're so lame. They're so fucking lame.
It's so lame.
Hope to see Riley Thomas back active here, like I mentioned. Same with Adrian Gonzalez, right? Both of those guys came off a couple games back. I also saw an Instagram post from Pat Krzyzewski, right? Our 3rd round pick from last year, who I want to say played maybe 2 matches, but like has been injured.
Yeah.
I saw an Instagram post from him. I also saw the team post pictures of him practicing earlier today on Wednesday. So maybe we get a Krzyzewski's sighting here. Certainly be interested to see what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
Also in those pictures, Charlie Farah back in practice. So I'm interested to see what happens at the goalkeeper position over the coming weeks. But like you said, dude, the team is fucking crushing right now.
Yeah.
I guess pulling back up the standings here, up to 3rd with a game in hand on St. Louis in 2nd and just a point back. So 2nd best in terms of points per game in the West right now. And of course we have that head-to-head tiebreaker at the moment over St. Louis. Austin, again, allowed 9 goals in 10 matches. That's 2nd best in the Western Conference behind Houston, who has only allowed 5. And the Revs have allowed 8 over there in the Eastern Conference, but 3rd best in the league. We'll take that. And we're tied with both of those teams with 5 clean sheets.
I think that's why it might be a little hard to go away from Lauta here. I mean, you can't argue with the results and what the team's been looking like, and he's been a huge part of that. So I am interested to see what happens at the goalkeeper position. And like you mentioned, I think we still got a couple guys here who aren't even fully ramped up to really be some nice depth pieces on this team when you have that core of Irvin, Jorge, Feliciano, Micah as well. So like this team's cooking with grease right now, hot fish grease.
Well, man, unless you got anything else to talk about here, how much is Austin FC 2 winning by on Friday night in Kansas?
I don't think they're slowing down anytime soon, so I'm going to go 2-0 victory.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna go 3-1. I'll just give a little bit of a slip up on the road there. This has been the most congested portion of the schedule, and it's not super close for the second team over the last 2.5 weeks or so. So I'll go 3-1. Either way, you come away with 3 points, man, and we continue the party. E will close it out with some of the nonsense here in the midweek, talking about the picks from the weekend. I think we did mention, right, that we were up like 4 units and some change headed into those Sunday league matches with a number of units still out there. We miss on the pick'em entry, so we remain in the black there, but don't get to start a win streak. And then at the books, of course, Austin, you want to talk about looking foolish.
I told you to put 5 units on that.
We do get the Charlotte victory, though, and the over in San Diego. Cincinnati soars over once again since he's been good to us lately. When all was said and done, man, it was a Buanga goal on Sunday that helped us finish plus 2.33 units on the week. So now at the books through 14 weeks, plus 24.21 units at the books and still plus 1.13 units on the pick'em entries. So, of course, Saturday morning, we will have the picks article posted to the site, thrown out there in the Discord. Always gets posted to the Instagram story. So if you're trying to play along with us, that's how you do it.
Hey, come on, get it right.
We'll close it out with the best ball here. E pulling up, checking in on the big ball league to start. Verde Pendant 75.
Ooh.
Coming right back into the race there. We get a 56, so second on the week. We'll take that, but just 7 points separating us in third from the VP boys in fourth. We are now just 3 points back of David and Soccer Wise, who is in second, and we are Austin with a 34. That lead is shrinking, man. That lead is shrinking. I think they're limping into the break.
Yeah, they really are, and it can change fast in the big ball leagues.
Absolutely. So we move over to the Patreon leagues. We'll get some zooms on these. Some wild results in the Patreon league. Sentimiento League first, as is tradition. Ari's and Brian tie with 60s here in week 14. And, of course, TJ, the Birdman, holding on to the lead in Sentimiento, followed by Aries, Cesar, and Tex Rex as your top 4. You move over to the Heartbeat League. We one up you. 3-way tie in week 14. Peach, Mike, and Aaron all with 58s. And for good measure, ZG with a 57 there, E. So Peach holding down that top spot, followed by ZG, Mike, and Tim, the stat man, are tied for 3rd. Josh in 5th there. And then the Rooted League, Schnorb Jones takes down week 14 with a 67. E maintaining first place, followed by Trevor, Schnorb, and Logan. And I think the largest gap between the top 4 and the bottom 4 right now in that Rooted League, which has led E to, I believe, 3 of the top 5 in the overall standings coming from the Rooted League. Top 8 overall scores across our 3 Patreon leagues will make up the Premier League next season as we move to a pro-rel structure. So if the season ended today, the Premier League would be E, Trevor, Birdman, Peach, Schnorb, Aries, ZG into the mix, E, and then actually a tie for that last spot with Mike Crignola and the Statman. And so just to refresh anybody who's interested, if we have ties at the end of the season, the tiebreaker is the total number of points your team scored all year, like not just the ones that qualify for your 6 players each week, but how many points did your entire 15-player roster have for the full season? So like, hopefully it doesn't come down to that where I have to go calculate it. But,
I was gonna say.
We do what we got to do here, E. So first 3 out behind the tie for 8th, Logan, Cesar, and Josh. So again, things continuing to shift week over week on that overall standings board. Except E at the top. That's been consistent for a while now.
Hey, me and TJ, just lording.
Hey, Turbo Trevor, come on. He's tied with Tej now. The Tej reign may be coming to an end, at least in the overall standings. He's dropping a little bit, dude.
Limping as well, for sure.
Yeah.
Can't relate.
Anything else for you, man, before we shut it down?
Fuck St. Louis. Let's go.
Yeah, all right. I second that. So we appreciate you all tuning in, sticking with us here on episode 309 of the North End Podcast. We are back on Sunday, recapping the first team's match against St. Louis City, recapping the second team's match against Sporting KC2, and of course, talking about everything else that happens in the Austin FC universe between now and then. Enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. We will do the same, and we'll see you back here on Sunday. Until then, he's E. And I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.